coverage from the experts. Now, here are Thomas Frank Carr and Kyle Leff.
Penn State football plays tonight against Nebraska, and that is no small thing. So let's just recap quickly the 2025 football season. And this is something that I know every Penn State fan is intimately aware of. But I just want to have this discussion because I think it matters tonight after the week that the Nittany Lions have had. So let's start back in August. The team comes in with high expectations, praise, and yet unearned praise. Fast forward to the last game in September, and they lose in a primetime atmosphere like one we're going to see tonight to Oregon. Mm-hmm. And then the wheels fell off. 3 days later, Tony Rojas lost for the season. 2 weeks later, and then Drew Aller's lost for the season. Head coach James Franklin is fired. An emotional rebound, a 1-point loss at Iowa. This team has been through the emotional ringer this year, and yet they've battled and fought every single game. They have given it their all every single game in those games since James Franklin's firing and the upset of the roster and the upset of the team. Now this week, Franklin hired at Virginia Tech, and midweek, multiple assistants on the staff leaving the program to go join him in Blacksburg. Terry Smith mentioned it's been hard to focus on football this week, and yet that's what they have to do tonight. Through all that emotional and logistical attrition, the Nittany Lions are still taking the field every week, and as Terry Smith said, you won't question the effort of this team at any point during the regular season. So I don't question their effort. The only question I have is, with fans focusing on the coaching search, with the head coach right now, the interim head coach, wanting to be a head coach as well, believing he's interviewing for the job, and all the distractions off the field, how much is in the tank for them to give? They're going to give all of it, but how much is left? That's my curiosity. That's what I want to learn about the Nittany Lions today, and we're going to talk about all those things and more here on the Penn State Football Tailgate Show. I'm Thomas Frank Carr. I am so rude as to not introduce Seven Mountain Sports producer Kyle Leff.
Hello.
Kyle, officially
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, sir. Thank you for having me. A man who I believe was in this chair 2 years ago or 3 years ago, possibly, as I've been told, is down in Blacksburg with James Franklin. So in 2 years,
Hawkins.
Yes. So
Our
in 2
boy.
years, I will be leaving you to be a coach. So
Okay.
I apologize in advance to you,
Fair enough. That's honestly, if that's what the legacy of this show is, that we're sending, that's going to be my coaching
Thomas
tree.
Frank Carr
That's my
coaching
coaching tree, is to send people to go other places to bigger and better things. Excellent. I love it. I love it.
And we are here live on 99.5, 107.5 The Bus, Bigfoot Country Legends, 103.7, 104.3, streaming live on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. Kyle F., Thomas Frank Carr, live outside the Bryce Jordan Center, looking at Beaver Stadium. It is a chilly day, not cold day, thankfully. It is not too cold for
Always
the fact that it
windy
is
up here.
November 22nd.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving is a week away. The weather right now with the game day forecast brought to you by W.R. Hickey Beer Distributor. It is currently 47 degrees, so it's getting down there.
Yep.
As the game goes on, game time will be 40 degrees outside here in Beaver Stadium. And then as the game goes, it'll get into the 30s. So we'll get chilly, we'll get windy. It shouldn't be too terrible. We've seen crazier weathers, hence, and look at last season where there was a game where it was, I believe, like 10 degrees. I mean, the SMU game, it was frozen over.
Yeah.
So it's
this
been
time,
colder.
This time last year, we had the T. Frank embarrasses himself in public game.
Oh.
Where I was so cold that it interrupted the broadcast. And then some friendly Canadians came over and, teased me mercilessly for being so cold. And if you don't remember, the wind was like 20 miles an hour.
It
so
was
it was
bad.
it was in the 30s, but the real feel was 0. And here's the thing. If they're listening, you guys were right, and I am ashamed. But, it's always the criticisms that hit closest are the ones that you feel the most, you agree with. If I were tailgating, I don't know, I'd be wearing a shirt.
Yeah. A shirt and shorts,
but
and a beverage in hand.
Sitting here talking about football using my brain muscles instead of my other muscles, it's get a little cold. All this is to say, I don't know what the weather is today. Is this beanie weather? Because I don't have a good beanie,
yes.
so I just wore like a baseball cap.
There are a lot of beanies walking around right by us here. We're also on the Penn State Tailgate Show driven by Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships. There's beanies everywhere. There's hats. There's hoods up. There's scarves. There's headwear all over the place.
Yeah.
And I can respect that. You have a hat on right now, of course, for On 3. I am just going with, you know what, I have long hair right now. Haven't cut it in quite a while. So I'm rocking with that as my heat proofing. and that's going to keep me warm for the day. I decided against the beanie today, even though I was going to wear the Syracuse beanie, but they're currently getting beaten and bruised in the first quarter by Notre Dame. So my first and only Syracuse reference is in.
Okay.
They're not good. So I didn't want to wear that today and be embarrassed. I was given food already, though.
You were.
I have been given food. So, of course, today.
You've been out here as a man of the people, from what I've heard.
Yes. So, of course, today Penn State takes on Nebraska here in Beaver Stadium, right in front of us over there. My partner's family is from Nebraska, and they're all here for this game.
Yeah.
They're Penn Staties. So I've got that going for me. And now I'm sitting here hanging out. I had some Nebraska food. I had some grub. I had some ribs. I had what is called a runza.
That was an amazing looking culinary. I don't want to say monstrosity because it makes it sound like it looked bad. It didn't look bad. I've never seen it before.
Apparently, it's a Nebraska thing. A runza. If you are a Nebraska fan in the chat or listening on the radio right now, I had one and I enjoyed. And I also had some ribs. Enjoyed those. I love food.
For the people listening on the radio, he got a slice of the Nebraska life. Here's the thing, is that one of the reasons we're talking about it is because this game, I'm assuming there's going to be a good number of Nebraska fans. I've seen a good number of them.
In town.
Yeah, in town. And here's the thing. I did a conversation earlier this week with Sean Callahan of the On3 Network, who's over at Huskers Online. And you know what he wanted to talk about?
What do you want to talk about?
So this is kind of an inside joke for the Blue White Illustrated audience.
Okay.
He wanted to talk about, like, how hard it is to get to State College.
You know what?
He wanted to talk about the runway. He wanted to talk about the airport. He wanted to talk about all the things that Penn State fans have trolled James Franklin for. And it was like, basically, he was giving a scouting report for his fans on, like, hey, listen, you're going to fly into Harrisburg. You're going to fly into Pittsburgh. You're not flying into State College probably, so you got a 2 or a 1.5 hour drive to get in there, so plan accordingly. And by the way, not as many hotels as you might think.
And as we've heard for years, if you want to try and fly into State College, the runway's not long enough for some planes. I don't know what it's like in Roanoke flying into there, because I know Blacksburg has a small one, of course, for Virginia Tech, but I know they fly out of Roanoke. So I don't know what it's like over in Virginia.
Oh, he already brought it up in the opening press conference, because I think they've got one specifically for the university or something. I don't know. I don't care. At this point, I don't care. It's not my problem.
The James Franklin checklist, we're down the list some ways.
Well, I mean, he talked about alignment, so apparently he was even looking at the alignment of the wheels on the airplane.
Well, speaking of alignment today, T. Frank, it is senior day in Beaver Stadium. Before we get into the game stuff and talk about what's
everything else
down,
that we set up, it's senior day.
It is senior day. And there are 35 players who are getting recognized today. I want to just give them a shout-out here on the air because you and I have gotten to watch them play in Beaver Stadium, play in the blue-white games, at practices, across the board. I want to give them their due because they've been here in Happy Valley, whether it's for a few months, for the transfers, or for 4+ years. So
for Nick Dawkins, it's been for about a decade.
I mean, Nick Dawkins was here when I was born. He's
pushing Sean Clifford for the eldest statesman ever.
I was thinking Perry Ellis in terms of college basketball for those out there. The names of players in alphabetical order. We have Drew Aller, who I'm very intrigued to hear by.
Such a long list.
I'll rattle through it fast. Katron Allen, Ethan Black, Mason Carlin, Liam Clifford, Emil Davis, Dom DeLuca, Denai Dennis Sutton, Matt Deach, Khalil Dinkins, Zane Durant, Tyler Dezansky, Zariah Fisher, Jim Fitzgerald, Alonzo Ford Jr., Deshaun Green, Ian Harvey, Tyler Holsworth, Kyron Hudson, Vega Ioane, Gabe Wosu, Trevor Pena, Jackson Preetz, Devontae Ross, Nolan Rucci, Dom Ruley, Caden Saunders, Drew Shelton, Sam Siafa, Nick Singleton, Blaze Sokach-Minnick, Riley Thompson, Zachy Wheatley, and Keon Wiley. A lot of names.
Yeah, and also two that are interesting. Keon Wiley, class of 2022, redshirt junior, and of obviously Venga Ioane is the main one there of a guy who's basically announcing he's going to the draft.
Means he got a degree.
Yeah, he got a degree. And also, like, he was definitely going this year anyway. The way he's played, he's definitely going to the NFL.
Yeah, sadly, it's not where he can't confirm it, but we're pretty much saying he's
Also,
Vegas
why would he stay and then
Yeah.
like go into a year where he's going to be in a new offense and all those things and have to relearn all the that would make
when you can
very
be
little sense.
First round draft pick and just go to the NFL as a top guard and be good.
Yeah, he's gonna be top 50 for sure.
Yep.
So he's had an awesome year. I think he's been probably, other than Katron Allen, the most consistent bright spot on offense for the team and generally on the team overall. So senior day, emotional day, and not the one anyone expected when we started the year. And I know we just keep saying that, but it's the final home game here at Beaver Stadium.
It is.
And, this is the other thing, it being a surprise night game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know that it's a surprise night game necessarily when you look at the facts, right, of the two teams. And Nebraska coming in 7-3 is a good team with a good record, even if, like, I think the national conversation about them is not that they're a team worth discussing.
It's because they're missing their starting quarterback. This also has a broken leg.
Yeah,
right
this
now.
is the Florida State effect, right?
Yeah.
But also, in the Big Ten pecking order, they're just in the middle, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to the Big Ten championship game. They're not going to the postseason, into the college football playoff with 3 losses. Mm-hmm. So it is, and with a resume that isn't stellar to begin with, right? Like the 2 big games they had on the schedule, they lost both of those. So like they're firmly in the middle of the Big Ten, which is, it's interesting to have this conversation. Started out talking about Nebraska, but pivot to the Penn State perspective of they are 13 points away from being Nebraska this year, right?
Yeah.
Like, even going to, let's say they just have a letdown against UCLA and like they're not even that one. We just lock that one in. The Northwestern game they should have won. Mm-hmm. I think the Oregon game they should have won if you don't call a blade of grass tickling somebody's knee hair
and they
as down.
They beat Iowa if they can.
And if they have Drew Aller.
If they have Drew Aller or cannot let Mark Gronowski run 75 yards 17 times in a game.
And this is what it's like for Penn State basketball, right? So you are a collection of shots away from being the worst team in the Big Ten, from being in the middle of the pack. And Penn State has been in the upper middle of the pack for the last Darius Dixon's family's back over here again.
They were here. They were here the first week. They're here the last home game.
Yeah.
They are through and through.
Yeah.
They are members of the channel.
Just goes to show you, like, they're showing up. Like, Penn State fans, family, the players are showing up, even coming from California in November here to Happy Valley. And Darius has been playing well. He's going to play in this game. So it is thoroughly derailed where we were going. What was I saying?
Your point generally was that Penn State's been a few shots away, a few tips away. They only were a toe away from beating Indiana, a blade of grass away from beating Oregon, and just going on the list.
They're not used to that.
No.
Penn State football is not used to the realities of the Big Ten and the 18-team Big Ten, where you are 5-6 plays away from being in the middle of the pack and it being relevant to. We're talking about them like, are they going to set up a 6-6 showdown with Rutgers next week, and who gets to go to bowl eligibility? And this is really the how the other half lives. I think is kind of how I've experienced this season of the ups and the downs and the problems with the team so far.
Well, we talked about it last week before the Penn State game. Was that this is the first time Penn State fans are getting not like a reality check, but like a hey, sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way. Because that's the rule. The ball has to bounce your way, and you have to be injury-free. Those are 2 things that are really tough to do in any sport for a full season. Like you look at any sport, whether it is basketball, baseball, soccer, football, all of them. If your team is not healthy and you don't get the luck of the draw on one bounce or one call or one thing, your season kind of goes up in smoke.
Yeah.
And that's what happened here, and it's just that the first one happened, and then it happened to be sitting next to lighter fluid. The lighter fluid caught on fire an entire house, and all of a sudden a forest burned down. That's what happened. And Penn State fans, sorry, it's not going to get better immediately. I will say that. Like, we've been discussing James Franklin and Virginia Tech and all these things, and fans are kind of freaking out, like, where's the coaching hire?
Right.
There's no coach hired as of right now. But the point is, you got to – I'm going to say the word, the P word. I'm going to say it.
No.
Patience is a thing.
Oh, okay. That
Penn State fans need to have to some extent. I know. It's Penn State fans agree.
Yeah.
You need to have at least a little bit of patience because, sadly,
So this is the downswing. So this is the low point, and the low point isn't over because people in the chat here on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel are being like, well, I'm worried maybe Tony Rojas is going to, he's from Virginia. Is he going to go to Virginia Tech? Yeah, he's going to Virginia Tech.
probably.
I don't even want to say I know journalistically I should say probably. I have a hard time. Like, he posted something on his Instagram, but going to miss the gang. I don't think we need, elaborate smoke signals to know, the dude has been vocally in James Franklin's corner since he was fired and has been vocally excited about James Franklin for him and very visibly excited. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, if they were to hire Nick Saban tomorrow and then he met with Tony Rojas, okay, there's an opportunity, and as Terry Smith gave us the multiverse theory on Wednesday of there is a multiverse of opportunities. We live in a world of if where anything can happen. He could be the next head coach at Penn State. He could be a person who stays on as a defensive coordinator or a defensive backs coach or an administrator, or he could be in Blacksburg, or he could open a pottery store. That's where we are in the infinite possibilities. But the most probable ones, there's going to be players that leave this roster to go see James Franklin in Blacksburg. So back to the original point as we do the
tie-in here.
Yes, the neurodivergent convergence of all the points is that we are in the low of the lows at the moment, and it's not going to go up yet, but it will at some point because they're going to get a coach, and they're going to go into the transfer portal to get players. So there will be a long stretch of time, or a short stretch of time, where you're going to be flooded with news of Penn State players that are joining the program because they have to have a number of bodies on the roster for next year, and they need to find 105. So you're going to get a lot of news. And, of course, BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. You want to join us for $1, check us out. We're going to be covering all of that throughout the entirety of the process.
You know what? If this is the low point, let's say they win out this season, Penn State, and then go to a bowl game, win, lose, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If 6 losses is a low point, there's programs that are in way lower points that have been to way higher points too.
Yeah. The bottoming out is 6-6 for Penn State. That I think is an impressive situation. And again, I don't necessarily count COVID because it was an 8-game season that happened in October and meant virtually nothing in the record books. They haven't been below 500 since 2004, I believe it is. And that includes devastating sanctions that would have crippled and destroyed other programs, and yet by 2016 they were in the Big Ten championship game.
Yes.
This has been, as much as I think Penn State fans, and I'm not trying to preach here, this is not trying to come off that way. I'm just trying to have a historical perspective. We sit here, we've had 12 years of James Franklin. We've had the last modern era, the millennium, right? Penn State's been in a pretty good spot for most of it. They've had their high moments. They've never reached a national championship, obviously, but they have been a relevant program. They just haven't been the most relevant program that one time.
Yes.
And now that's what the next chapter is. The next 20 years, we're going to find out if this pivot to a more aggressive approach in the future is going to grant them that. And coming up on the show later today, we're going to see more about what happens on the field, including the injury report, which I think comes out at 5 o'clock, 2 hours before kickoff. So we're going to have that for you with the availability later on the show. That's an important one this week with a couple of guys that are, TBD question marks throughout the week.
There is a lot to get to, and we are, of course, here on the Penn State Tailgate Show, driven by Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships on 99.5, 107.5 The Bus, Bigfoot Country Legends, 103.7, 104.3, streaming live on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. Kyle F. Thomas Frank Carr live here outside of Beaver Stadium in the Bryce Jordan Center. And I got to shout out real fast. There's a generator behind us. You can see it kind of in the middle here on the Blue White Illustrated video feed. There's a generator behind us. Shout out to Phantom Entertainment. They gave us generator because ours has been having itself a season.
I didn't realize that wasn't our generator. I knew that our normal here, I'm going to do the reverse plug because I get these all the time. And I want to be a people that does a service here, and I don't care if they're going to ever advertise on the channel. Don't buy a Jackery. I was thinking about it, and these, I don't know. I was unimpressed with what I've seen this year from it.
Our generator has not been working, but Phantom lent us the next generator they had, so it's currently up and running behind us, so shout out to them helping us out here. Get the show on the air for the final Penn State home game of the season, and now we're going to keep the show rolling. Head to a quick break. When we do, we're going to head on over to the open practice highlights because practice did happen this week. I assume it was inside and warm and nice and toasty. And the open practice highlights are brought to you by Tri-County Tag Services.
I'm Thomas Frank Carr from Blue White Illustrated, and all season long I've said if you want to join us for our practice observations as they happen, you can join us for just $1 over at the site. However, there's only one more set of practice observations left, but there is still a massive coaching search going on. For the latest information, join us there for just $1 to try us out for a week. I say all that because not only is there only one practice update left next week for Rutgers, this week's is quite short. The Penn State coaching staff is less and less interested in giving us a view of what's going on at practice. The windows have been shorter as practice has been shorter, and special teams has dominated most of what we've seen through the last 3 weeks. Here's what we did see. Receiver groupings were the same as last week. Tysier Denmark working with the depth group while Kobe Howard ran routes with Ethan Grunkmeyer and the starters. Grunkmeyer took all the snaps with the quarterbacks. Last week, the backup quarterbacks worked on the sideline where media had access. This week, they're on the other sideline away from where we have availability. However, Liam Clifford was still the only player running drills at the quarterback position, doing option handoffs. Only walk-on Jack Lambert watched on while wearing TJ Latif's number 14 jersey. Beckham Kritza was at practice and watched along with the other quarterbacks as Grunkmeyer went through drills through the majority of our viewing period. The only other notable change for Penn State this week is that after putting all 3 running back threes in the top group last week, only Corey Smith worked behind Nick Singleton and Katron Allen with the starters while doing drills with Ethan Grunkmeyer. Cam Wallace was wearing his number 26, while Quentin Martin was wearing 22 for Nebraska runner Isaiah Mosey. That's your Penn State practice update. I'm Thomas Frank Carr. More from the Tailgate Show next.
You can't. They're not going to run it 70 times against Nebraska and run to a win. That's not the methodology that's going to get them there. They have to be able to have some level of success passing the football, and it's going to be incumbent on him and the pass protection and the receivers. All the stuff that has applied all season will continue to apply in this game.
The issue, and I think the emphasis this previous, and I said this on the Monday video, but like watching the video, it was different than watching the film of the first 2 games where they didn't really give him a chance. They gave him some chances in the first half, and Terry Smith said yesterday his reactions under pressure need to improve. There were some missed opportunities, and he still played relatively well. So like this is the knife's edge I'm trying to dance on here of young quarterback. It is important that you don't over criticize or analyze, but at the same time, the winning and the losing the game is going to be partially on his shoulder. So I guess that's where I just wanted to throw this to you, Fitz, in terms of like, that's my focus here at the end of the show. Do you have a different focus for this Nebraska game coming up and what we learned from the Michigan State game? Or is that to you also kind of where the hinge of winning and losing is going to lie based on what we've seen from them in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I look at the defense. I look at what Penn State's done on defense the last 2 weeks, and it's been, fairly different from a schematic standpoint, trying to go after the quarterback. Now, you played 3 straight not very mobile quarterbacks. I know Mendoza had the scramble touchdown. Latif is more mobile than those guys, but not like the giant running threat that, you just bring in a backup quarterback. Sometimes it's the guy that just runs, and he's not that case. And he's been ultra efficient in terms of completion percentage, completing a lot of stuff close to the line of scrimmage. And, he's been successful and efficient there. The defense, is that going to work? Sending pressure off the edge with your safeties, with your D-backs. And that's really where Penn State's had a ton of success is, Darius Dixon's been back there and Zion Tracy forced the fumble last week. So you get that stuff coming from the outside, but what that does is it leaves you vulnerable up the middle. And if he takes off, we've seen that's a problem for Penn State. So you look at that, you look at Penn State's ability to tackle in the open field, not just with that, but throws close to the line of scrimmage, playing the screen game and doing different things to take away what Nebraska is going to do, which is kind of what Penn State does in playing a box and sort of not chunk your way down the field, but sort of ease your way down the field. Sometimes that results in good drives. Sometimes that blows up on you. So I think that's where I'm going to, but
Penn State Tailgate Show driven by Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships. Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships celebrate more than 40 years of service to the community. Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships has a vehicle to fit your budget and transportation needs. Home with a $1,000 lowest price guarantee with 20 locations throughout Pennsylvania. Mr. Thomas Frank Carr, sir.
Yeah.
Time for the key matchups. Had some technical difficulties. We apologize for those who may have lost the stream or lost audio. We're back on the air. We're good to go. Timed it just up enough
perfect
to be back on these airwaves for our key matchups. And you, sir, what is your key matchup powered by Stalker Chevrolet?
It's going to be running the ball or stopping the run. It's just which side of the ball we're talking about today.
Let's start with the offensive offense.
So we're
Penn
gonna,
State, which has two players both closing in on history because they're the two that are going to be running the ball. We'll start with the Katron Allen side of things.
Yeah, I want to start with there.
Yes.
That's the key matchup. The key matchup of if Penn State is going to win this game, they need to be able to play a balanced game. And I mean be able to throw the ball actually down the field. So it starts with running the ball, though. Like they're not going to get into a shootout in this game and have a chance to win. So Nebraska's run defense, if you look at it, and everyone this week is telling me how bad Nebraska's run defense is and how they're statistically.
Stats.
And like, it's funny. I'm the analysis guy. I'm the analytics guy. I'm the guy that goes in like all my articles are like, well, it's 3.7 yards per carry and it's 9.5 divided by 2, carry the 1. Because I'm trying to bring you the facts of what I see on film. And then you get into a situation where I watch Nebraska's run defense. I'm like, it's not that bad. And, it's not perfect, but it's not the numbers I'm being told. And so that's deeply frustrating because I would like to agree with everyone who's like, here are all the numbers that matter. Yeah. Here's what's going on.
Okay.
So
hit me.
Nebraska last year ran a 3-3 stack, which means 3 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers lined up, basically like hide and go seek behind the defensive linemen. It creates a lot of havoc for run blocking schemes because you don't know where they're gonna be.
Is that what one of the teams earlier this season did that? I believe. Was it Villanova?
I
think did that.
No. Yes.
Villanova did that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Villanova did that. I'm trying to remember which one. Yes, it was Villanova. They run a similar defense, but. The defense coordinator there now, John Butler, former Penn State assistant, he runs a 4-down front. Okay. And so he joined them this year and has mixed in more of the 4-down defense. And so when I'm watching their film, most of the time, like, they have gaps that they don't fill, but they create a lot of havoc the way they're supposed to with that. And they safeties are coming into the box, and it's kind of a chaotic thing. A little bit like Indiana, but a little less oiled of a machine. A little more, these are college kids playing this kind of crazy maniacal defense mixed with this 4-down front. So then I go and look at the numbers, and these are the numbers you need to know.
Okay.
Against a 4-down front, when they're in their 4-down front package, Nebraska averages 8.1 yards per carry allowed.
Which is
basically a first down.
Okay.
That's not good. When they're in their odd front defenses, they're a good defense, and they allow 4.5 yards per carry.
That's
not
big
elite.
Disparity.
Yeah. And here's the problem. Penn State against those 3-3 stacks. Think back again to FIU did this. Villanova did this, and even a little bit in the first game against Nevada. But for the most part, they were 4-down front. So they've seen teams do this all year. Oregon, Ohio State, all these teams are running these combo coverages, combo fronts. Indiana, all year long. When Penn State struggles to run the ball, it's probably against an odd front. They've gained 3.3 yards a carry against an odd front. So Nebraska's defense, bad against the run. Yeah, kind of. Can Penn State actually take advantage of it? That is the key to the game. That is the entire game. Because if they come in here, if Nebraska comes in here and wants to run their 4-down front, Penn State's fine in those situations. They average 5 yards a carry. They're going to get Katron Allen the record. All those things are going to happen. If Nebraska comes out and plays that defense where they're causing more chaos and more havoc and more communication with the offensive linemen, who haven't been great at communicating this year for some reason, despite they're all upperclassmen, then Penn State might have a harder time running the ball, puts more pressure on Ethan Grunkmeyer, who has been a little uneven. And that's why I want to pivot into that conversation about the passing game, because I have been the most optimistic about Ethan Grunkmeyer among people who have like studied and previewed him. And yet after this last week, I'm probably the most critical because of what I saw in the game last week.
So what did you see in Ethan Grunkmeyer this past week? Penn State beats Michigan State, but there was a lot left on the table, it felt like.
Yeah.
From me watching the game, I can only imagine you being someone who actually understands the game more than I do. You saw a lot more that was good, bad, ugly, worse.
Yeah. So he saw some things that he's never seen before. They were running some coverage rotations that are going to go, oh. That would be how you would look at that if you're on the sideline with the iPad later. It looks like one thing, and then it's something complete, like the opposite end. If you were, it's like noon and 6 on a clock. They would rotate to something the opposite side of the color wheel from what they were in previously. And those sort of things can get a young quarterback the first time he sees it. And those kind of rattled him in the game. I think dropping the snap on the first 3rd down rattled his confidence. And what happened was his eyes started going to the wrong place. And he's been a little bit of a one-read guy anyway, but he has, in full passing situations, been able to get bang, bang, bang through his reads, find a guy on 3rd and long against Ohio State and convert and be like, you need to do that more with him. And then again, Michigan State, there was a big step back, in my opinion, where he was missing guys. His eyes weren't in the right spot. And then there were some open players where it took him 2 or 3 times, but then eventually he did find Devontae Ross for a touchdown. So there are a couple of situations last week that made me a little bit frustrated and a little less confident about his hopefully linear development. Now, home game, big difference. Not going to be windy.
No.
And I think there's an opportunity here for a mental reset. So I think that's what Grunkmeyer needs in this game. But it starts again with giving him a ground game that's sucking the linebackers into the line of scrimmage because they're going to be aggressive. These guys like to fill against the run. So if they can, establish – I hate saying establish the run because statistically there's been studies done that it does not make a difference. But it is the credible threat of a run. And if you come in with a reputation – that you can get it done, then you don't need to establish the run. And Penn State's somewhere in between, where sometimes their play action works and sometimes it doesn't. So that's kind of like where I'm seeing this game from the balance perspective. And I do think that with Ethan Grunkmeyer, they need to find some answers because the plays they were trying to run that they ran against Indiana that worked, Michigan State was ready for them.
Yeah.
And so that was what happened in the first half.
Part of establishing the run is not just establishing it; it's also giving the credible threat that it could exist. Penn State has credible runners.
Yeah.
Nick Singleton and Katron Allen are credible running backs who can cause damage. We've seen it time and time again, whether it's this season or past years, where they just can rip off a run. Katron did it multiple times this past week against Michigan State, where he took the game over, and he was a monster for them. So if you can get the credible run going and moving forward, it is the positive. The problem is you need a credible quarterback, even minimally so. Pass a test here and there,
Yeah.
You can get a question right, which he has a few times.
Yeah.
But when you're getting a D-, they're not caring. You need to You need to chuck a B+ in there somewhere, a C+.
Right.
Give me anything in the pass game.
And that's really and you hit the most important part of this, where last week against Michigan State. So we in the opening segment we talked about Penn State being kind of in the middle of the Big Ten, right? They are not the worst. They are not the worst team in the Big Ten, as some people feel because of where they started. But they aren't in the top group. They aren't among the best. They're still generally a good team that can win and lose games.
They're mid.
Yeah,
They're mid.
Right.
Just say it.
Again, well, I'm not Gen Z, so I don't think of things like mid. Sorry.
I'm here to help.
I appreciate you helping me out with that one because the only thing making me look older is like the white in my beard. They need a complete offensive performance because they're going up against a good team where you can't beat this team by just running the football. You have to have a competent performance from the passing game. And so, like, you can get away with calling 6 passing plays in the second half against Michigan State. This team is going to require a full effort. And so I hope they didn't learn the wrong lesson from last week because sometimes, coaches are very smart, but there's things they want to believe, and you can convince yourself of anything if you want to believe it enough. And I've seen that a couple of times with very smart people believing that things that could be true, probably aren't, but could be true. They end up, doubling down on that because it's the path forward that the only one they think is possible. So I just hope that they give Grunk an opportunity. They continue to give him opportunities, and I hope he rewards them early. A lot of football, confidence and rhythm comes to success early where you don't feel like you screwed up. And, I just hope in this environment tonight, because it will lead to a good game and it'll give a good, fun performance in this final home game, and this final chapter here in Happy Valley with the James Franklin staff.
And my hope is that this past week, Penn State got the monkey off their backs. They won a game because it had been 6 very, very rough weeks of Penn State football where the Nittany Lions just could not win. Again, they were a blade of grass against Oregon. They were a toe away against Indiana with Omar Cooper Jr. Like, it was just close and close. And finally the win happened. You could see what it meant all week. We talked about it. You discussed it. Terry Smith was emotional during his press conference because he was like, he got texts from literally everybody, every human being, even including, as he talked about later in the week, James Franklin. Like, everyone reached out to him to say congratulations.
Yeah.
Like, and the weight was lifted off of him. I assume it was also probably some of these players who were just like, we just want to win. And then it happened, and it was a breath of fresh air. And so the hope is that all of that combined means there's just a clean slate.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? There's a lot of students who are not going to be here this week.
So I wanted to ask you about this.
Are now out for the semester.
Yeah. So
a lot of them are going home.
Can I ask you,
Go for
because you've been tailgating most of the day.
Okay.
Hey, that's what I was told. I was told you were tailgating all day.
I am stone cold sober, though, so we're good.
Tailgating also means food. It's okay,
Yes.
Kyle. And I won't tell any of your secrets.
Thank you.
And that was it. That was it for the
radio
audience. That was a visible wink to the camera.
Mm-hmm.
He's a fine young gentleman. Stop throwing aspersions at him. What is the crowd like today? Like, how you've been out here? We've got our crowd cam going on the YouTube stream. What are you expecting for what we see tonight? Because it's been I've been here, and that's about it.
So I have been all week asking listeners questions whenever they're in the studio or on the air, talking to them on the radio. Is like, are you going to the game?
Yeah.
Because I'm genuinely intrigued by this, and I think it's going to be an okay crowd. I don't think it's going to be as bad as some out there in the media sphere have said. I've heard some saying there's going to be 60,000 fans here. It's not going to be that bad. It's not going to be 110,000.
You know what's funny? 60,000 fills a lot of stadiums.
It fills up Autzen Stadium where Oregon plays. The thing is, we're not in Oregon.
Yep.
Beaver Stadium is a very large stadium. Will there be quite a few empty seats up high? Possibly. The student section might be a little bit less crowded and a little more dispersed because Penn State students, we got someone saying 70,000. It feels like you're going to get somewhere in the, my number is, I'm thinking high 80s, low 90s. The problem is Penn State fans will make that out and the media will say it is terrible audience-wise. 80 to 90,000 is still an incredible number.
Yeah.
Students are also now on vacation. A lot of them went home on Thursday or Friday, or they left today.
Were you an early leaver when it comes to leaving for break?
The thing was, for me, it depended on, for Syracuse, when Syracuse basketball played.
Okay.
Because if the basketball team had a game, I would like to go to that.
You would
before
stick
break.
around for the game, right?
I would stick around for the game.
I never understood this. Like, some people, you got to fly. I get that.
Yeah.
Like, that makes sense. But to me, like, I live 3 hours away. I grew up there. I spent 18 years there, and I'm going to be there all summer. Why do I need to leave for Labor Day?
Yes.
That never made sense to me when my friends would go home. They're like, yo, I'm checking out. I'm heading home. I'm like, is laundry that bad? I don't think it's that. And by the way, like, I would go 30 days without doing laundry and just take it home at the next holiday. Like, I don't know why everyone was always going home. Like, the campus food isn't that bad. Like, you got it good. You don't have any adults telling you what to do. Why are you such a mama's boy? I'm a huge mama's boy. And I was like not going home. I would want to go to the games. It never made any sense to me why students would go home before the thing. I get it a little more for the Thanksgiving break. But still, it's like the last home game. If you're a senior, this is your last game. Why would you? Nah, I'm going home. And it's always a bro. Like, I'm always talking to bros. I was, living on a freshman dude floor. So, anyway. I
you
don't
had to
understand.
get that off your chest, I felt. I felt that needed to come off. That
Yeah.
had to happen.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm not trying to tell anyone they're wrong. I just don't understand it.
And the general point is...
And you paid for the tickets.
You paid for the tickets. It cost a lot of money to get Penn State football tickets.
Yeah.
But we just don't know what the crowd size is going to be. As we saw, a fan came by and guessed 70,000. My guess is going to be 85 to 95. Somewhere in that range feels about right. I think 10 to 20,000 less than full, because Penn State fans still care. There are a lot of programs out there that don't have that level of care.
Yeah.
Because, respectfully, there are a lot of programs you can look at.
Are they
let's go to,
mid?
They're worse than mid right now.
Oh, I thought I used it right.
You did use it right. I'm proud of you. But let's look at, for instance, Oklahoma State, who did not have fans in the stands to the point where one random dude was like, I just want to go stand in that section over there where no one is and wave my shirt.
That started at Oklahoma State?
Oklahoma State, because they were so bad
okay.
and losing by so much. They had to do something positive, Mr. Thomas Frank Carr. And so what did they do? They went out and waved a shirt around, and that made it all work. So there are programs where fans still don't show up even when the team is good or bad. But in this case, Penn State's even at least a little bit okay, and it's fine. It's working. The question is, how will the Penn State defense work, which had a really good week last week in East Lansing? And we're going to get into that here on 99.5, 107.5 The Bus, Bigfoot Country Legends, 103.7, 104.3, streaming live on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel on the Penn State Tailgate Show, driven by Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships. When we get back after the Coach's Corner, brought to you by Happy Valley Adventure Bureau.
Who has time for press conferences? That's why we've set aside the most important stuff for you. It's Coach's Corner, powered by Happy Valley Adventure Bureau.
Penn State is winless in the Big Ten no more. The Nittany Lions knocked off the Michigan State Spartans for their first win in 2 months, and also interim head coach Terry Smith's first win as a head coach. His now viral press conference moment is here for all of you to listen to.
I have 2 phones. Each phone had about 500 text messages on it, plus direct messages was like another 500 or 600, so it was really busy. I've been reached out to basically every person I've ever known in my entire life. People are super proud of me. You know, it's very humbling for me. I apologize. It's just humbling sitting in this seat. There's so many people in my life that speak life into me, and they all reach out. And I'm just so blessed.
Penn State won 28-10, but how? What did the PSU football team do to impose itself on the Spartans in East Lansing? Well, it had to do with the dual-headed monster in the backfield, per head coach Terry Smith.
I'm super proud of our effort on Saturday. Not only did we win, but we played with an identity of, Penn State football. It was complimentary football at its best, and we're going to continue to build off of that. Last week, I gave the team 4 key points of emphasis. We delivered on all 4 of those. They were dominating the line of scrimmage, playing with passion and pride, get Nick and Katron a combined 30-plus touches, and then pressuring the quarterback.
Freshman corner Darius Dixon found himself starting for the Nittany Lions in Spartan Stadium following some injuries in the secondary. Former DB's coach Terry Smith feels pretty strongly about number 5 and his play in Penn State's first win since September 13th.
Darius is playing extremely well. He played the most snaps of any corner on the team, which is a tribute to him. Really coming into his own, part of our freshman movement. He's the guy that's going to be important to our future, and he continues to make big play after big play. The moment's not too big for him. He's a super mature kid.
It is senior night here in Happy Valley. Over a dozen players will hear their names called as they are honored pregame in Beaver Stadium. Coach Smith showed some love to all the seniors and graduates for getting their degrees, ending their collegiate careers at Penn State, and making a world of difference to the program, including one particular currently injured player, quarterback Drew Aller.
Drew means everything to us. You know, obviously we've won a lot of football games with him under the helm. He's a tremendous leader, tremendous part of our locker room, our culture. Again, when we go back to the subject of opt out and guys could walk away, you know, he's injured. He's done for the year. He could easily detach from this team. He's at every meeting. He's at every practice, and he travels with us on the road. That's true leadership. He's been very special for us. He's been a great role model and resource to Grunk. He's leaving his mark on us in a different way, and it's super positive, and I'm thankful that, you know, he's still around and with us.
That was your Penn State Coach's Corner. More from the Tailgate Show in a moment.
Someone in Timothy in the chat says, plus 200 on Terry Smith crying at tonight's news conference. I would take the opposite side of that bet. I think he's probably done crying at this point. So I am not. No. You on the same side as me, T. Frank, with that one?
Absolutely, yeah. Like that. That's not in the cards tonight whatsoever.
All right, 3 best bets here. I just need to pull up my handy BetMGM app, which is awesome, by the way. If you haven't used it, definitely check it out on your mobile device. It is awesome, easy to use, easy to search, easy to function. I want to make sure my first bet is going to be Notre Dame Syracuse. I just want to make sure I have the most current number there. It's been a bit of a busy morning, but Notre Dame and Syracuse meet at 3:30 p.m. The Fighting Irish are a 35.5-point favorite over Marcus Freeman's Fighting Irish over Fran Brown's Orange. But I'm going to the total 50.5. I think Notre Dame gets to 50 by itself in this game. I know that there's times when the Notre Dame offense maybe has not looked as crisp as they would hope this season, but I think they get to 50 themselves. So I just need a little bit of help from Syracuse in this contest. So I'm taking the over 50.5 in Notre Dame Syracuse at BetMGM.
Sounds good to me. What's next?
All right, moving on to another game in the Power 4 level, but looking at Texas and Arkansas. That game jumped off the screen to me, too, while checking out the BetMGM app this morning. I'm just going to pull up to make sure I have the current line there as well. Yeah, Texas, 9.5-point favorite over Arkansas. To me, I think the Longhorns win this game by double digits. I think that they're probably a little sick of being beat up. A lot of teams are being beat up right now in the aftermath of Tuesday night's college football playoff rankings, which, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but T. Frank, but Penn State got a bit of a shout out there, propping up the new selection committee chair who was forced into this role because the former one stepped down for personal reasons from Baylor. So it's Hunter Udacek now from Arkansas. And he talked about, Penn State being a good win for Oregon, despite the fact that Penn State is now where it is in this season. That has drawn a lot of attention this morning. He noted that Indiana came to Penn State and won in overtime. And he was, I think, using that as a way to prop up the Oregon win over Penn State earlier in the year. I'm not 100% sure, but Penn State still in that part of the college football playoff conversation. But yeah, so Texas, I think they win this game by double digits, so I will lay the 9.5 and take them to beat Arkansas by 10 points or more. And then, as always,
so Arkansas is not going to get the fighting for the fired coach bump. They're not fighting for the interim coach anymore. That's over.
Might be. Yeah, no, they might be. I just think that I think Texas just has a little bit too much talent in this contest. So we'll see. And then last but not least, and this will lead us into our Penn State Nebraska talk, but Penn State is currently, let's just double check this one too. This line opened Penn State minus 10.5. And I thought that was a little bit high. It dropped pretty quickly to Penn State minus
7.5 The Bus, Bigfoot Country Legends, 103.7, 104.3. Streaming live on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. Kyle F., Thomas Frank Carr, live outside of Beaver Stadium on the Penn State Tailgate Show, driven by Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships. Mr. Thomas Frank Carr, sir, we discussed the Penn State offense and the good, the bad, the ugly, the everything that has gone on with them. The question is, what happens with the Penn State defense? They played really well against Michigan State. 5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. Zanai Dennis Sutton had an incredible game across the board. Zane Durant, Amari Campbell, Darius Dixon. His family walked by. He started the game. He played really, really well at corner. So the question is, what does it look like for Penn State's defense this week against the Nebraska offense? TJ Lateef is their starting quarterback due to Dylan Raiola having a broken fibula. So he's out for this game.
Yeah, a lot of broken legs with Big Ten quarterbacks.
Or former ones, include Bo Beulah in there. Chuck Hidman for fun. Like, everyone's got injuries. Raiola is the latest for Nebraska. So what does it look like? Emmett Johnson running the ball against this Penn State defense, who had a good game against the Michigan State team that is lackluster, to say the least.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Nebraska's a good team, but there's not anything about them that stands out in a way that you go, okay, that's the team strength. Dylan Raiola was that, and now he's not there. So Emmett Johnson is a really good running back. The way I've described it is he's Katron Allen running in Nick Singleton's body without Nick's speed.
Yeah.
So, like, he's elusive. He is hard to bring down. He's a really good runner. He makes great decisions, and he's a guy that's going to get you the yards that are there and a couple more. But he also, like, beyond that, though, he doesn't really take it to the house. He averages like 3 yards per carry after contact. So he's not a guy that's ripping off 5 yards a carry after contact. So
yes,
you have to contain him, but you can tackle him. That's the part of it, like Nick Singleton, kind of like he's got a thinner, narrower frame, so he doesn't have that kind of squatty power through contact to break every single tackle. But he's elusive and he's good. The part that and the offensive line is okay. They're not great run blockers, but they give him a chance, and then he goes and does it. So that's really how their run game works. It's not sexy. Like, there's nothing about this team that you're like, ooh, that's a sexy thing that we can talk about. That's a great football player. They're a well-coached, really sound 7-3 team. And for normally, when I would see those, I'm like, okay, Penn State can win this game.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm going to confidently pick Penn State. I don't believe that about this team because I think that those things can challenge Penn State's run defense, which has been better but not great. So then the question becomes, what does the athletic T.J. Lateef bring to the table as the most athletic quarterback Penn State has seen since since Nico Iamaleava, I think.
You got the name right. I'm proud of you.
No,
Well
it's just you. Like, I listened to you say it for 6 weeks, and I finally, through repetition, I was able to get it. But yeah. He's the most athletic quarterback they've seen. Mark Gronowski is not an athletic quarterback. He was a quarterback they used to run and was effective at it. The question I have,
go for it,
is that I don't know if he's a runner. Like, I don't know if he's a runner.
He was able to scramble 5 carries, 31 yards against UCLA. They won 28-21 a couple weeks ago. So he has shown that he can at least get the ball downfield in terms of using his legs. The question is, what does it look like in terms of legitimately running the ball? Because he, against USC, had 18 rushing yards on 6 carries. So he's not broken a big one like Nico Iamaleava or Mark Gronowski have been able to against the Penn State defense. So can he use his legs even a little bit against this defense who we've seen with people, of course, no Tony Rojas on the defensive line. A lot of injuries have taken place where the athleticism, cough, cough, Chaz Coleman, loses. All of a sudden, can you break a tackle and then have 10 yards of runway?
Yeah, and that's really what a quarterback needs to do. So I got some stats for you.
Hit me.
This is directly from my 5 things to watch for, which I put out every Friday, where I'm going through like the basically it's what we have from the our key matchup, but I take too long to say stuff.
Fair.
So we have 5 of them. But number 3, T.J. Lateef as what you just said, being able to break tackles. So he averages 2.3 yards per carry after contact on 10 scrambles this year. That's important because Penn State has missed a tackle on 31% of their pass rushes this year.
And welcome to the breaking the tackle part.
Yeah, contain has been a real problem. Contain, having a quarterback spy, like these are the numbers that directly say to your eyeballs, yes, you're not crazy. Penn State is one of the worst teams in the Big Ten at tackling the quarterback in the pocket. But T.J. Lateef really hasn't broken any tackles. Yeah. So it's going to be like, which one of these things that hasn't really happened is going to happen in this game? And then as a runner, that's the other thing is like using him. Nebraska had a bye week, right? So we saw Penn State change their offense when they had a bye week with Ethan Grunkmeyer under center, and they tried to build things around his skill sets or what he was comfortable with or what they were comfortable calling for him.
Yes.
And we saw the offense function a little bit better as they got on, a couple weeks after that bye. Nebraska's had that same amount of time. So they had to go directly from the end of that USC game into the UCLA game, and now they had a break before this. So what did they put in there? Do they have the quarterback confidence and depth? Or are both teams going to be like, well, if anyone breathes on our quarterback, it's over?
Uh-huh.
So as a runner, he averages 1.4 yards per carry after contact. It's fine. You know, you're not asking your quarterback to break a lot of tackles.
No.
But when you do that, as a quarterback, typically you get more yards because you're not the main part of what the defense is trying to stop.
See Niku Iamaleava.
You're the option. Like on a read option, it's the other option. That's the whole point of it, is the whole defense is not designed to stop the quarterback. And so to me, that's really important in this conversation of Penn State's defense. You know, this is the other key matchup. If Penn State can stop TJ Lateef as a runner and a scrambler, then I think the defense can shut down this offense. But I just don't have any confidence because we haven't seen them stop an actually athletic quarterback. We haven't seen them stop somebody who can hurt you with their legs.
Yes.
They've stopped some guys that aren't athletic and are pocket passers, and then even some that are pocket passers they let kind of off the hook at Ohio State.
I bring this to you then on the similar point of we also haven't seen this season the Penn State defense actually get to the quarterback, and Penn State was able to against Michigan State. 5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. They were able to get in the backfield and penetrate and actually bring down Alessio Miljevic.
Yeah.
They were able to get him down to the ground. So, of course, Michigan State's offensive line is not great.
Yeah.
Can Penn State replicate it against Nebraska? From what you've seen of the Nebraska offensive line, are they going to have an easier time against the Penn State defense, especially with if Chaz Coleman's healthy, we're going to find out soon.
Yeah.
Because, of course, he's been out. He's athleticism.
Yep.
And you go across the front, like, they need athleticism, and they don't have it. And Denai Dennis Sutton is great, so can he get to the backfield? He was able to against Michigan State. Can he against Nebraska?
And they were able to do it with just 4.
Yes.
Because, again, normally I'm like, we can learn something from every game. But this late in the season, the things we already knew about Penn State are what we learned against Michigan State. And they just kicked the crap out of them in one-on-one matchups.
We did learn that Jim Knowles started to blitz. Finally.
We did that against Indiana as well.
Yes.
So that started against Indiana. But actually I was going to bring up the other point. Denai Dennis Sutton, I think, had 9 pressures when they were rushing just 4. So it was pressures or not, they were just winning because Denai is going to the NFL. The left tackle wasn't. End of story. And it was just a huge problem. And it was one of those, okay, well, you're not going to be competitive in this game because they were down, right?
Yeah.
And so this game's not that, but it's somewhere in between. I do think that they can get pressure. If there's one thing that this offensive line does well, generally it's protect the quarterback. And I think the scheme is going to protect the quarterback as well. So I don't know that they're going to have a ton of opportunities. You know, like I don't think that Nebraska's coming in here and dropping back and throw the ball. This game might be over by 9:45. You know, like they might be a run, pass, punt kind of game on both sides of the ball. So it's going to be those pressure packages this week, I think, because it's going to be third down passing, you know, high leverage situations. And then to me, the biggest thing is they have started to finally figure out how to replace Tony Rojas and with Keon Wiley. So they brought back their Prowler package, as Terry Smith said, I think this week or last week, and it provides them pressure options and answers that they hadn't had previously. And with Wiley on the field, he's athletic enough to run guys down. He's just a little bit slow in diagnostic sometime, and he is not. This defense generally has a problem with closing and like closing out the play, getting the sack. He does have a little bit of that, but I think he's going to be more comfortable. That's a big matchup, is like that third down situation, and if he can he's going to be the guy that has to corral Lateef.
And then I want to go into the other side of the defense we haven't discussed, which is the secondary. Real fast before we go to the break. Darius Dixon, of course, his family came by earlier. He started this past week for this Penn State team. He was playing. He got quite a few snaps. I believe he got a majority of them in terms of in coverage. He was on the field quite a bit.
Yeah. And so they basically play left-right.
Yeah.
And because he's behind A.J. Harris, and A.J. Harris didn't play, he played last week. So it was not like they did mix in, I think it was Elliot Washington was on that side of the field a little more. So he got a lot of run and did really well. One-on-one situations with Nick Marsh. And that's the thing, is like they weren't going to hide him because schematically they don't. They just don't do that. They keep it simple. So if Nick Marsh is over there, that's your guy.
And Nick Marsh had maybe a dozen yards or so. I don't even think that.
He had, I know
catches.
I know against Dixon, he had specifically a catch for like 3 yards.
Yeah.
Because they threw him a quick out and Dixon caught it in an RPO situation. And I highlighted those earlier in the week over at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com in my film analysis, because if you're looking for where was Michigan State trying to get explosive plays when they couldn't throw the ball down the field because of the pass rush, it was putting Nick Marsh in one-on-one situations with guys like Adavian Collins and Darius Dixon, and Penn State's defenders tackled well in space.
Yeah.
The corners tackled well in space.
It happened.
Penn State's problem has been when those guys get near the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. And you saw some of those falling forward first downs that have been kind of, I think, painting the whole group as bad at tackling, when it is a situational thing where they struggle in the box as opposed to just generally and overall.
Yes. And so we'll get into the rest of this Penn State game plan, the defense, the offense coming up here on the show, because it is now 5 o'clock. We are just 2 hours away from kickoff. Half an hour left here in the show on the Penn State Tailgate Show, driven by Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships. We are here live on 99.5, 107.5 The Bus, Bigfoot Country Legends, 103.7 and 104.3, streaming live on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. Kyle F., Thomas Frank Carr with you. And we're going to head on over right now to This Week in Penn State Sports, because other teams are playing men's basketball, women's basketball, wrestling, and a whole lot more.
It's a time of year where everyone is on the court or on the field. 100%. Even the sports that are not playing anymore don't exist. They're all playing in the fall, in November.
Everybody's doing something, so it is now time for This Week in Penn State Sports, brought to you by Miller's Hoagies.
It's more than just football at Penn State. Here's This Week in Penn State Sports, brought to you by Miller's Hoagies.
The big week of Penn State sports has now come and almost gone. Penn State women's soccer fell in the second round of the NCAA tournament to Virginia 2-0. The Nittany Lions made it to their 31st consecutive NCAA tournament before falling to the Cavaliers in Charlottesville. Penn State men's basketball won earlier this week, 84-80 against the Harvard Crimson in the BJC. Caden Midgo's 24-point display led Mike Rhodes' squad to a 5-0 start. The undefeated streak is on the line at Mohegan Sun Arena in Connecticut as we speak, as the Nittany Lions are taking on the Providence Friars. From north to south, the Penn State Lady Lions wrapped up their first leg of the Battle for Atlantis against Princeton earlier today. Game 2 is set for Monday against San Diego State in the Bahamas at noon on its Pop Radio 93.3. After beating the Oklahoma Sooners 45-0 in the season opener, the Penn State wrestling team is back in action Sunday at 10 a.m. in the Army Black Knight Invitational. Pre-game for the day-long affair starts at 9:40 a.m. on Wowie Radio. All of the former Nittany Lions in the NFL are gearing up for the My Cause, My Cleats game this week. Penn Staters in the pros, from Colts tight end Tyler Warren, Eagles wide receiver Jahan Dotson, Jets O-lineman Olu Fashanu, and many others representing different causes they feel strongly about this weekend. One of such causes, represented by Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver Mitchell Tinsley amongst others, is Thon. 24-25 PSU alum Jalen Reed showed up and showed out Thursday night with a career day and a victory over Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. In his first NFL game, the PSU safety totaled 12 tackles and a fumble recovery, key to the Texans' victory over Buffalo. That was This Week in Penn State Sports. Back to the Tailgate Show in a moment.
Valley Sports and Entertainment Alliance is the proud sponsor.
What I was going to get into, or what I'm trying to figure out today, is, well, you just lost Andy, Rashad, Chris, Carson I mentioned earlier, a couple other, they were a big hand in organizing all of those sidelines and everything that happens there. Well, if anybody else leaves in the next 48 hours, which I don't know, so I'm trying to figure out, how can you organize that logistically? I'm sure they'll figure it out, right? They have recruiting interns and all those things. And I'm not saying Penn State won't host recruits this weekend, but what I was waiting to figure out was, how are they going to figure this out, if that makes sense? And who's next in line to handle this job, that job, and whatever it may be on game day. So that's kind of where we're at as far as this weekend's visitor list goes. But,
Kenny Sanders, Alan Zamitis, Nas Oliver, those guys are
EJ Bryant. Yeah, there'll be others here, but I don't know if we're expecting anybody else to leave or not. That's something I got to work on today. Either way, it's not going to be a big recruiting crowd. It's going to just be like Indiana for the most part. I think Brett Arnold leaving was interesting because he kind of oversaw, some rev share and NIL different things. Clearly, James got somebody in line for that. It's no secret that LB and Man were great. As their main jobs were, staying in contact, building relationships with recruits. Like, they have a lot of ties. I think, if I'm right, wasn't Rashad a heavy defense and Chris was heavy offense, I believe?
Yes.
Believe that was the case. So, he's got one guy who has a bunch of offensive relationships. Another guy has a bunch of defense relationships. Of course, Kenny Sanders, AZ, all those guys have different ties at different positions and all that as well. But, James is just trying to get everybody he can at the moment that has some sort of ties that'll help him lock down some of these guys this upcoming weekend. Of course, Andy oversaw a lot of that. And, as I mentioned, they have Caleb Tyler, who, oversees a lot of the graphics and all that. And then Carson, who oversees the logistics. So, James, if you look at the people who have left, it makes a lot of sense, from a Virginia Tech and James's perspective of he has a handful of them now that kind of oversee different things that make it all run smoothly. So that hurts Penn State from now until, at least for this upcoming weekend. We'll leave it at that.
And just to kind of underscore this, you've said it without saying it, but there were some questions in the chat. Some people think that Terry Smith is in line to be James Franklin's GM. And then
Terry's a coach.
I understand that, but like there is a sort of like, is James Franklin going to hire a GM in Virginia Tech?
Andy Frank, yeah.
Frank, and this is the staff that is going to be that. So like that puts to the point of some of the people in chat. I just want to say this for the people who are saying that James Franklin didn't get it done at Penn State. Like, the plan that he had here is the plan he's going to have there with flaws and everything. So should he have hired a GM here? That was clearly a line of contention. I don't know right or wrong, but that is going to be the plan he's porting over there. There won't be a GM.
1995, 107.5 The Bus, Bigfoot Country Legends, 103.7, 104.3. Kyle F. Thomas Frank Carr with you here on the Penn State Tailgate Show, streaming live on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. To head over to what's going on around the Big Ten, brought to you by Valley View Retirement Community. Before we get there, may I make my last Syracuse reference?
Yeah, and then I've got another rant. Well, it's not really a rant. Okay. It's just a curiosity.
Well, Syracuse is losing at halftime, 49-0 against Notre Dame. That's it.
Oh, buddy, I'm sorry.
You know what? It's okay. Basketball season is here. Keon Anthony, Carmelo Anthony's son, now plays for the team. Sunshine and rainbows, Thomas Frank Carr.
Okay.
So, do you want to get into your rant now, or do you want to do Big Ten stuff first?
No, we should do the sponsored stuff, and then we should, the rant can wait.
Well, games that have wrapped up in the Big Ten today. Ohio State beat Rutgers 42-9. So that one happened.
Yeah.
Northwestern beat Minnesota 38-35.
Look at that.
Minnesota had a 21-point second quarter.
What's Northwestern's record this year?
They are 6-5. They are bowl bound.
They're not bad. I know that Penn State shouldn't have lost to them, but that's not a bad football team.
Well, Preston Stone, 25 of 30, 305 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. I think a lot of people get upset with the language I use sometimes when I'm like, this is still a good Penn State football team. Yeah. Because what they think of as good is great. What they think of as good is like college football playoff. Your definition of – but if you watch college football and like having to watch the film to prepare – I'm watching all these other games and all these other teams, and like you get a sense of what's just like an average team. And to me, average is good. So like that's a good football team. It's not a bad one. It certainly isn't bad.
As someone who got to watch a 2-10 Syracuse Orange team with Tommy DeVito at quarterback, I don't think it can get any worse than that. And so I'm enjoying watching an actual football team play football.
You're now at 3 references to Syracuse.
3.
You're at 3.
3 is the charm. And it is now time to head on over to the rest of the Big Ten. Right now, Oregon is up 21-14 over USC, and they are driving right now, so that is a good game over there in Autzen.
Maybe those are pretty good teams. Now we're going to have a very confusing ranking system for the rest of the day.
And then back to the what I like to call the how low can low get. Iowa's up 7-3 just before halftime against Michigan State. So can they get 20 points total in that game? We may never know.
I'm certainly not going to circle back around to find out.
No. Michigan is up 21-10 over Maryland. That one is going on down in College Park. And then Illinois takes on Wisconsin at 7:30 on Big Ten Network. And Washington is in UCLA. Damon Williams Jr., that Washington team is good. They're a good team. They're a fun team to watch. Jonah Coleman, good running back. Of course, Denzel Boston, receiver. Damon Williams at quarterback. We saw him here in Beaver Stadium last year. He was a quite fun quarterback to watch, even in the limited snaps he got. So all of that is to say, that is what is going on around the Big Ten. But what is going on around your brain? Because you have a rant for us as we're lit here by our our laptops keeping us bright.
Yeah,
I look like I am.
Sun's going down.
a
Yeah,
ghost.
you really like. I made the comment in the break. We had like 2 minutes left, and he's like, "Do you want me to get the light on?" And I'm like, "It's for like 20 minutes, and our lighting is fine, being lit by the laptop." So of course, like he goes and turns his up all the way to Ghostbuster level.
No. It's called Slimer style. Come on now.
So like, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, I think he's being pulled into the laptop.
I turned it down a little bit.
This thing is so old and busted that like this is as high as it goes.
Yeah.
It's going to shut down if it goes any higher.
So hit me with your rant.
Okay,
Frank.
so I saw this yesterday. So we were at Anti-Fragile Brewing Company, downtown State College, sponsor on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel on the live show. Love their.
Had some beverages there.
It's a great place. Great place. And Nebraska fans are in town. They're being super awesome, having a great time. But, like, you know when your brain just sees something and you don't really register it right away and you forget, like, Nebraska's in town? So the first Nebraska fan I saw at the bar, I'm looking at them, and they're wearing a black hat with an N. And it's a very skinny, like, pencil-level N. I'm like, who's got a Netflix hat on? Why are you wearing a Netflix? And it's like, oh. You got a Nebraska fan out here who's like, yeah, dude, I don't get it. Like, the block N is classic. Block N, the block letters are college. Like, that is very clear, iconic, look. And then I understand we live in the digital age, the modern era. Everything has to be sleek. Everything has to be called Sporkle or Cork or Nocturne or whatever. Whatever new AI company wants to come out and call it, like Boogle or something or whatever.
I will take no hatred on Sporkle as a quiz person myself.
Listen, Sporkle is great, but you know the next, we're a B2B AI marketing company that's going to get you hooked up with the next KPI LPMLON, and we're called Fang. But we spell it with no A. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, everything has to be the Netflix N of everything. Like, it's okay to just be Nebraska. It's okay to be like, hey, it's 1985. We frickin' love our block N, and we're not moving. Like, there are some things that are fine to, like, not rebrand. Yeah. And by the way, if you do, I also don't care that much. Like, I'm just like, it's fine, but you're going to confuse people with your Netflix hats. That you're not actually here to support Nebraska. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how many fans there are of Netflix out there, but
you know what? There are enough because the company is
Netflix
still a thing. I do have a question for you though, Mr. T. Frank. It is 5 o'clock. It means the availability report is out.
Yeah.
Are we on it?
No, we are. Neither of us this week are on it. Believe it or not, we're actually healthy.
Who is on it?
Chaz Coleman's on it, and that's a bummer. Antoine Belgrave Shorter is on that the list as well. Matt Otten, depth receiver. Very talented player. Not going to play this year. Like I wasn't expecting to see him this game.
But no AJ Harris, so he is healthy.
Yes, I believe so. I didn't get the chance to go through all of it this week. Quentin Martin and Corey Smith are both out.
So it is going to be
Hayes.
It's going to be Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, and that's it.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing here is all the running backs are out. Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, and that's it.
Are there? Okay. So I guess let me ask you this question.
I believe so.
What happens?
Yeah.
Because as someone who's seen in a lot of football games, sometimes two players at a position get hurt, and then you're down to your third, which is why it was nice for Penn State to have Corey Smith, Quentin Martin. These guys were there. They existed. And so what happens when, let's say, for instance, if one gets hurt, the other's going to take the load completely.
Let's just say one of them has the helmet malfunction, right?
Yeah. Something happens. They got to come out of the game.
Yeah.
Who goes in? Is it Liam Clifford? To go back to your cat thing?
The answer is always Liam Clifford.
The answer has been, always will be, Liam Clifford can do everything on the football field. You know who I want to see?
You know, honestly, as much as funny as that is, maybe.
Or
maybe.
I presume it would probably be a Trevor Pena, Devontae Ross.
Maybe
Kobe Howard, Tyser Denmark would go back there.
Can you go back and read me the senior day list? Because
the senior day list here, we've got.
It might be Emil Davis.
Emil Davis is on the senior day list.
Yeah, so he's he's available.
You know what? I have a player. You know who hasn't gotten a shine this season?
Is Tyler Holsworth still on the team?
He's on the list. I have a name for you. I wanted to bring him up anyway. Gabe Wosu, 6'7". Let him run the football.
I want to see him play DN.
I want to see the great Kali type of running for the longest yard, where you give him the ball and you say, Turley, go that way.
Yeah.
Because I think he could do it. I think he'd be beat up a little bit, but I think he could just run that way and run through some guys. Gabe Ozu hasn't got, like, special teams and, like, taking out the return part of the game, because that's been a discussion point we've talked about quite a bit.
Yeah.
But, like, Ryan Barker and Gabe Ozu and, like, Riley Thompson, all of them, like, they've had a good year.
Yeah.
All things considered.
Yeah.
Like, Gabe Osu's punted the ball really well. They've had a really good job of downing the ball deep in to other teams' territories. Ryan Barker's kicked the ball pretty darn well. So, like, special teams have been okay. I'm a special teams guy. I love special teams. So, like, that's a positive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'm sorry. You're correct. You're correct. Yes, but they've been good. I'm still hung up on the fact that all the running backs are out.
That is a thing we didn't notice in the break, but we now see.
But they were at practice. I'm sorry. I'm forgetting Cam Wallace. Cam Wallace,
okay.
Cam Wallace is available. So Cam Wallace
There's a running back.
Cam Wallace is a running back. He's available.
So it's not just that they're going to try and go for the records with Katron and Nick Singleton, which, by the way, I think Katron's 139 yards away from.
I believe that's correct.
Nick Singleton's, 3 touchdowns from tying Saquon, 4 from taking the lead. So they could conceivably both set records tonight.
They could.
Which is really cool, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, if there's anything that's going to be a positive for the Penn State fans, that should be it, is that those two are chasing literal history. They're not going to get 7th. They're not going to get 12th in the history books. Number 1 could happen for Katron Allen to get 139 yards. He's the number 1 all-time rusher for Penn State football in its history, beating out Evan Royster and Saquon Barkley, who are above him right now in the rankings. And Nick Singleton is a few touchdowns away from Saquon's record. Of course, Saquon said it in one less season, but Nick Singleton has a chance to get that record. That at least is like a major thing and a milestone. Let's be positive.
Yeah.
You know what? I was called Mr. Positivity. I want to be positive. I want to see them break some records.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, we can get to predictions, but let's throw those into our predictions. Let's throw that into, like,
yeah, we'll get there.
You know, whether or not they're going to break those records, yes or no, in the next break. I'm still hung up on the fact that I saw Corey Smith at practice on Wednesday. He looked fine. I don't want to be the you know how much I don't like being the conspiracy guy.
Uh-huh.
But, like, all 4 of the running backs are out.
I'll do the Brian Windhorst. Why would the Utah Jazz do that?
Why would all 4 of the running backs, 2 freshmen who haven't played all year, I mean, not as consequential in the conversation,
but haven't played.
None of these guys have played all year, so I understand that. But also on special teams, you know, Quentin Martin, I believe, has been on a gunner on special teams. I don't want to say, like, I don't want to be like, oh yeah, they're already in the transfer portal. I don't want to do that. But all 4 running backs are out.
It's the same type of.
It's Cam Wallace.
It's the same thing as the Vega Ioane part. It's like Vega Ioane is being recognized on the field. He is a junior, but that means he got a degree, which means he can graduate, which means he can go to the NFL, hypothetically. It's also like, as we've talked about, some coaches have been out of the building this week because they are making their way down to Blacksburg. And then some players are left out.
This is why I brought up Matt Otten. Matt Otten's from Virginia. And so, like, I don't – these are the things – these are the dots your mind connects. Matt Otten could also have gotten banged up in practice.
Yeah.
That is obviously a thing that can happen. So I don't know. It's just crazy to think that all 4 of the backup running backs who weren't on the availability report last week are suddenly on the availability report this week. And I saw Corey Smith working with the top unit on Wednesday, and you know, other things happened between then and now. But like, this is the first time I've looked at the availability report and gone, oh no, that's a weird thing. That's a weird thing to see.
It is a weird thing. What is not weird, however, Mr. Thomas Frank Carcer, is that we are going to head on over to a break and then get into our predictions here on the Penn State Tailgate Show, driven by Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships on 99.5, 107.5 The Bus, Bigfoot Country Legends, 103.7 and 104.3, streaming live on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel on the Penn State Tailgate Show, driven by Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships. Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships, celebrating more than 40 years of service to the community. Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships has a vehicle to fit your budget and transportation needs. Home of the $1,000 lowest price guarantee with 20 locations throughout Pennsylvania. It is now time for a break, but when we get back, our predictions.
It's time to share the speed.
This is one of the closest games this year that I think has the most upset potential both ways. So let's get into it. Ryan, how do you see all those factors playing out? Who gets the win this week?
Well, it's so hard to, because of everything going in this week. I know the outgoings have been primarily recruiting staff related. But everything taking place in Blacksburg, that's going to have an impact on just focus levels to some degree. I'm not saying necessarily on the players, but certainly coaches. I don't even know how many of these players or their agents are taking calls. Like, there's no way to really know the details, but to expect 100% focus on Nebraska with everybody in that building this week, I think is a little unrealistic. I went with 23-20 Penn State because I do feel like they're motivated. I do feel like they want to win. All those things I've seen in recent weeks, like I've seen better effort, at least than maybe what I kind of expected, honestly, after a handful of those losses. But, I'll come back to, again, it's Katron's got to do his thing. I think Nick Singleton, you need another Indiana run, something like that to break some things up and, give some momentum, give some juice. Maybe we'll see that against a Nebraska rush defense that's been shaky. But, I also think 8.5 is silly. I think that's too big of a spread, and I would take it as an under kind of game too. Defensive heavy. We're going to see not lots of punting, but there's going to be boring quarters in this game. I think to some degree, with two backup kind of quarterbacks and just shakiness on both sides of the ball in different areas. But 23-20, I went with. Not very confident. Gotta be honest.
I actually asked Andy. I asked somebody's yelling about Andy Kolnicki being fired in the chat. That got me distracted. I asked Terry Smith yesterday, has it been easier to focus on football now that you've been through the front end of these things and weathering the storm, and now all of these things are coming up this week with James Franklin and all the stuff we talked about for the last 3 shows? Is it easier now to focus on football? And he said, no. It is not easier to focus on football, basically. So I think that's a telling thing. Fitz, how do you think all that plays out?
I think that was his whole answer, right? He just gave you a one-liner and was like, okay, moving on. Here we go. But you circle back around and get another question. I have Penn State winning. I've watched this Nebraska team a few times this year. Not 100% sure what they are, because they've played some tight games against their better competition in Michigan and USC. But at the end of the day, do they have the firepower? They've got a backup quarterback coming into an atmosphere that won't be as lit as many of the night game atmospheres of Penn State, but it's still a night game at Penn State. It's hard to win there. I have Penn State winning 20-13. I also have a low scoring game. I also have maybe a frustrating offensive game for both sides of the ball. Maybe a punt block one way or the other. Nebraska blocked one against Michigan State, took it back for a touchdown. Penn State's got 4 block punts this year. So something of that nature could be in there. So I have it as a low scoring 20-13 game. So I would say
LF Thomas Ricard with you here live on 99.5, 107.5 The Bus, Bigfoot Country Legends, 103.7, 104.3, streaming live on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. We are live here outside of Beaver Stadium where the lights are on. There's things flashing on screens. I can see lights and colors and things are changing around us.
Look at that.
But you know what's not changing?
What?
And we've been here all season long. Every single home game here outside of the BJC, outside of Beaver Stadium. I want to give one more shout out to the guys getting us the generator here from Phantom Entertainment. They got us covered. They're coming in from Carlisle. We have a generator that's cooking. It's doing good stuff. We're cold. But, it's not cold. It's heating up right now. The predictions. It is time to give our predictions. Powered by Messer Forest Products Landscape Center. Thomas Frank Carr, sir. Currently, Penn State is favored by 7.5 points against Nebraska.
I don't get that.
Under 45.5 points is kind of the number we're looking at there. But what do you think?
I don't get it.
Who's winning?
I don't get it. I saw this over here that they got 70% prediction in the 70% prediction over here, the matchup predictor
per ESPN Analytics.
I don't understand that. I don't understand that. Nebraska is a good football team. And I could be totally off on this, right? I could be totally off. And Penn State could run for 285 yards in this game, and everyone gets a touchdown, and everyone gets a record, and everyone gets a trophy. I could be totally wrong. Earlier in the week, I'd like to stick with the prediction I make, and then that's it. Mm-hmm. I'm leaning more towards Penn State, but I've got it 2017. Pick whoever you want. It's going to be 20-17. It's not going to be 70% chance that Penn State wins by 35-14. I just don't see that. Nebraska's been more consistent at what they do. So I picked Nebraska early in the week. And I'm going to stick with that, 2017. But I think Penn State can absolutely win this game, and it's like very easily you could flip that score.
2017 for you. For me,
Yeah.
I sit here, I think, you know what? It's senior day. Regardless of how Penn State has played all season, it is still senior day. You're playing for pride. You're playing for your final game in Beaver Stadium. That means a lot because this is, one of the top insert number here stadiums in all of college sports.
All the world. I think
it is the third largest in terms of sheer attendance in the U.S., behind, 2?
Yeah.
So this is one of the biggest stadiums in the world. You've been playing here your entire careers for a lot of these players. Go out with a bang. Get a win, senior day, in Beaver Stadium. You got to win last week. Win once more at home. Send everyone into Thanksgiving break with the win. Then you go to Piscataway for one final game.
For a battle for bowl eligibility.
Battle for bowl eligibility. Give me Penn State because good teams win, great teams cover. Penn State 28, Nebraska 24.
Okay.
I think Penn State will end up winning this game. I think it's going to be close. I know my math says they don't cover. They're going to get the over. They're not going to get the under, but they're not going to fully cover the game because they're not a great team.
Yeah.
They haven't shown us they're a great team all season. So Penn State will hit that number, 28-24. Is that what I said?
I think you said that.
Okay, 28-24.
By the way, you know how I can tell the evolution of dudes?
Yeah.
And how I know you're not 30?
Yeah.
You walked out today and a pullover will be fine.
Yeah. You know what?
Because I've been that guy. I walked. So I used to. This show has gone through a couple of iterations. And
it has.
Used to be the opener for the pregame show. We still are on the radio, but literally we'd be on the stage with Steve and Jack. And so back in my day, a young up and coming broadcaster who was still working part-time and wanted to be taken seriously, I would wear a suit to the game.
Oh.
And I'd be wearing a suit on the radio. I'd walk up, and I'd be wearing a suit.
People can't hear a suit, T. Frank.
I don't care. You know what? If NBC needed me on TV, I was ready to go. That was my thought. As you see, it definitely happened. Totally happened that I was just called up to the big leagues. But, I would not wear a coat. I would be wearing a suit coat. I wouldn't be wearing a coat. Now I'm wearing a coat, and I have a parka and a baklava or whatever the words are.
A baklava is a great treat that I love. But one last question
What is that,
for
balaclava?
you. Balaclava is what you're looking for. Baklava is a very incredibly tasty honey pistachio treat that I appreciate. We've discussed food a lot here on the show. Are Nick Singleton and Katron Allen going to eat up the record books? Are they going to claim top spot rushing yard-wise for Katron Allen and Nick Singleton, the rushing touchdowns record? Will it happen? We'll go with today.
Yeah.
Will either happen today? Katron Allen, yes or no?
Yes. I think
Katron
Katron Allen gets it today.
Will Nick Singleton get his touchdown record today?
No.
Okay.
I don't think he's going to, unless they get to the goal line and give it to him 3 times. Katron plows the road and then he gets into the garage.
Gets to the one.
I don't foresee Nick. They're going to ride the hot hand, and Nick and Katron's going to be the hot hand today, I think, in this situation because of the way Nebraska's defense is going to turn it into a swampy, muddy mess from just bodies flying everywhere. That's not necessarily a Nick Singleton game.
That is a good way to describe it. I will agree with you 100%. I think Katron will get 130. I think he'll get 160 on the ground today.
Oh, okay.
I think he'll get he got 181, I believe, last week. So
yeah.
I think
he had to break off.
160.
He had to break off a couple at the end of the game, get some big runs there at the end after, and that would be the situation where he had to rip off a couple runs because Michigan State's in desperation mode.
See, you're sitting here at this point, and if you're in the stadium, holding a beverage in your hand that's cold is not going to help you get warm. But what will get you warm is cheering.
Yeah.
And what better way to cheer than for a 60-yard rushing touchdown?
Yeah.
I see that as a positive. So I think Katron will get the record tonight. He will be Penn State's rushing yardage leader all time, which is an incredible piece of history to get for him.
Yeah.
Because he's had an incredible career here in Happy Valley. So has, of course, Nick Singleton. I think he might get that next week against Rutgers, who are a team, as we've discussed. They're an okay team, good, bad, ugly, kind of everywhere, all over the place.
Yeah.
But that'll be
quick fact for next week. If Penn State wins this week, I was going through the run defense stats for Nebraska, and they were 17th out of 18 in a couple of stats and categories, right? You know who is 18th out of 18?
Rutgers.
They average 7 yards a carry on certain situations.
You know what? That's what they get for being in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Because you're in Piscataway. That's a bad decision. People think it's tough to get to Happy Valley. It's not
We
something
have,
to get to
we
New
have
Jersey.
many friends on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. Lots of people from New Jersey watch this show.
I have family from New Jersey. I love Jersey, but I have and continue and always will throw some shade where I can, and we're in the shade, and we're going to see you next week after Thanksgiving for Penn State Rutgers. But right now, it's Penn State versus Nebraska here on 99.5, 107.5 The Bus, Bigfoot Country Legends, 103.7, 104.3, streaming live on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. Kyle F. Thomas Frank Carr. We'll see you next week after Thanksgiving. Have a happy one. It's time for Steve and Jack.